Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm here on a cloudy Saturday morning and maybe talking to myself, maybe talking to you, maybe talking to my friends in the future. Hello, I'm Kat with Ruby Bloom Room, and here we talk about solo travel, international travel, Black women, other women of color who are looking for adventure and to find more joy in their lives. So, I am talking to you today about solo travel because I've seen in a number of forums where there are people who are interested in traveling, but they are sort of hesitant or maybe even, good morning, Catherine Mohammed. You never know. You never know. Uh, But I talk to myself. That's fine if I'm talking to myself. I talk to myself all the time. And I talk to my cat. So, it's all good. But yeah, I wanted to talk about solo travel because there are a lot of women who want to travel, um, but maybe you're kind of waiting for your friends to come along and join you. And if you're anything like me, um, well, I know a lot of people who are not like me, but they still have, like, friends who either flake out on them or just don't have the money or can't come. But I'm a single mom, and especially when my kid was younger, a lot of my friends were also single moms, and getting single moms together just for, like, a brunch is a weeks long endeavor. Like, you've got your kids this weekend, I've got my kids that weekend, our weekends don't align. Okay, let's try Thursday. Oh, I've got a work thing. It's a challenge just even to get your friends sometimes together just for, like, getting together in your hometown, and then trying to get your friends together, to come on a trip, um, go traveling somewhere. It can be it just doesn't it often it just doesn't work schedule wise or finances wise, or you don't even have the same, like, desire to go to the same places. Um, so yeah, good morning, Kat. Good to see you. Good to see you. There are a lot of cats in my life. Like, I have a cat, and then my cat sitter's name is Cat. And now there's Kathy, who also goes by Cat, but she's been generous enough to let herself be called Kathy while she's around me, which is very nice. But sometimes, you got to be Cat. Let a cat be a cat. So, yeah, solo travel. Um, yeah, because it's sort of there's a couple of aspects of solo travel. There is there's the logistical aspect of, tickets and passports and things like that. And then there's the emotional aspect, um, which actually I'm Kathy. That's official, but that's okay. Hi, Kathy and Kat and Catherine. All the versions of Kat. Um, yeah, there's a logistical aspect of travel, which yeah, and whether you're doing it internationally or solo or as a group or whatever, there's those sort of tickets and passports kind of aspect. And then there's the emotional aspect, which when you're traveling solo can be a lot more daunting. Um, when you're traveling in a group, it's sort of, you kind of bring your community with you. And when you're traveling by yourself, you have to either make it or be comfortable spending a lot of time by yourself. Um, so yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So, um, I was thinking about the first time I did, like, I took a trip by myself, and I was thinking about this longer trip, but actually the first time I did a solo trip, w- it was sort of a solo trip. I was 17. I had met this boy at a college. It was like one of those accepted applicants weekends where they, try and get you to know more about the college. And at one of the events for Black accepted students, I met this guy, and he was really great. Like, we talked for hours. We were totally on we were totally on the same page, and so we just hit it off immediately. And I was like, "Oh, he lives in New York," and we were. This was pre-internet, pre-cell phone. Okay, so we like I live in DC. He lives in New York, so we were staying in touch. But then at some point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up to New York and just hang out with him and his family. And this is the first time that I told my family that I was going. I didn't ask, "Can I go and see my friend?" I was like, I'm going to see my friend in New York. And here's when it's happening and, fait accompli. And first time in my life, my family was like, "Okay." And so that was a good lesson. You don't ask permission. You just tell them. You just tell them what you're doing. Lesson number 1. Um, then okay, so I was like ready. It was the weekend, Friday or whatever the before, and I was like, asked my dad to drive me to the bus station because been working as a lifeguard in the summers, didn't have a lot of money. I didn't want to spend all my money just getting there, so I took the bus instead of the train, which is expensive. So, Daddy, can you drive me to the bus station? Sure, honey. Let's drove me there, and I was like, at the bus station, we get there and he's like, "Okay, bye, have fun." I was like, "Aren't you coming in with me?" Right. "Aren't you coming into the bus station with me?" Like, my nerves just, like, were like, "Mm." And, you know, I granted, this was, like, the '80s, I think, and, I was going to New York. All of a sudden, it all came like, started hitting me, like, I'm going to New York, and this is not the, like, post, you know Giuliani Disneyfication of Manhattan, New York. This was, garbage strikes, rolling blackouts, graffiti all over the subway kind of New York. And my nerves started like, hyping up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And my dad was like, have fun. I'm not coming into the station with you. Lesson number 2, if you're going to be big and bad, you got to be big and bad. So I got out and I got into the bus, super nervous to get out of the Port Authority bus station in New York, but I did it and it worked out great. So that was actually my first trip, solo trip. Um, yeah, sometimes you do want hand holding. You do. And that's why you don't always get that when you're traveling by yourself. You got to hold your own hand. You got to sort of say, okay, I said I wanted to do this and I do want to do this. I got to go through this scary part of being a young, vulnerable woman in a bus station in the '80s in New York. Little scary. That is a scary situation. Like, if it is like, it's kind of like not the safest place for a young person to be, right? But I kept my money close and I wasn't like, looking like New York City, just like I always imagined it. Hey, I'm young and vulnerable. Like, you got some little street sense and, you know, you have your wits about you and you have a friend meeting you. So it's going to be good. So you have to kind of hold your own hand, maybe give yourself a little talking to, like, you can do this. This is the scary part. And once you start, you're on the journey and we're doing this. So yeah, um, yeah, you got to hold your own hand sometimes. So the other like bigger trip that I did was so I had like one summer in my early 20s I drove with my then boyfriend from like near Denmark to Greece, which is a pretty long trip, and we drove through Yugoslavia. And before, which doesn't exist anymore, so Yugoslavia is now like Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, Serbia, etc., that area of the world on the Adriatic coast. And I'd gone through there, and and before we even drove through, I was nervous. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a socialist country. That's also like scary. Like, are they gonna hate me because I'm American? Or, what's happening? Like, they've never seen a black person in person before. Like, what is it?" And we drove through, and it was absolutely beautiful. Like, we know, like, Americans now know Slovenia and Croatia are some of the most beautiful coastlines and the most beautiful, lakes and mountains and forests, and it's a beautiful area of the world. Then I was just scared. Um, but I really wanted to get to Greece. So, again, so the next summer, I said, I want to go back to Yugoslavia. I find it really, I just find it so interesting. I think it was so interesting to me because I was so afraid. And then it just kind of like, it was the exact opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be gray and people are going to be eating potatoes and they're going to hate me. And that was the not what I found. It was so beautiful. So I was like, I want to go back. And I decided to go back by myself. And so I got myself pre-internet, okay? I got myself a Teach Yourself Serbo-Croat book. And I went to the study abroad office at my college and I looked for study abroad opportunities or any opportunities I could find in Yugoslavia. And I wrote physical letters to people asking them, "Hey, I want to spend some time I want to spend some time at your youth camp or your volunteer opportunity, this." And one of them actually wrote me back, and I ended up spending a month in, it sounds like a jail, but it's not, a youth work camp in a little, very small town, which happened to be the birthplace of Tito, who was the leader of Yugoslavia for decades. And yeah, it again, the nerves. I'd been there to the country already, but I was nervous. Um, but yeah, I ended up spending a month there and you know, surrounded by people who didn't speak English. One person spoke English, one person spoke German, and that was it. Um, so that was like I did it. Like I did it, and that sort of set me up for um, like feeling comfortable about traveling by myself. But I know that there are a lot of folks who are wanting to travel um, and knowing that they're going to be traveling by themselves if they really want to go to the places that they want to go to. So I guess I think there's some things that you should like just anybody traveling needs to know about like how do I do this and also if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we can talk about them because I know folks do have questions about solo travel. So just logistics. If you're going internationally, you need your passport. So get your passport in order, or if it's just make sure that if your passport is good, make sure that I think a lot of countries have like you have to have 6 months worth of validity on your passport um, from the moment that you enter their country. So just check your passport, make sure it has enough months on it. And then you gotta figure out where do you wanna go? Like, where are you going? Where in the world do you wanna go? And that's, um, sort of tied to your why. Like, why are you going? Are you motivated? What motivates you? Are you motivated by, um, food? Like, I'm super food motivated. Like, I need to go to a place that has good food. Just it's a given. Um, are you motivated or do you wanna do, like, hiking? Do you wanna like, go shopping? Do you want, like, a luxury experience? Do you want to date a lot? Like, what's the purpose like, not purpose, but what's, like, your motivation? What's the drive behind this trip? I think if you sort of, like, throw a dart at the map or you, decide that a lot of people are talking about a destination and therefore you wanna go, like, yes, but why? Like, what's behind that? Like, what about it do you like? And so that way, once you figure out, like, what your why is, then you can figure out how to design a trip, um, that will, um, that will feel good for you. And everybody's why is different. Um, so yeah, and then you also have to figure out your budget, like how much money do you have to spend on this trip? And yeah. So if you have a limited budget, what are you willing to splurge on and what are you willing to cheap out on? Like some people are willing to cheap out and stay in a hostel. Um, some people are not willing to do that. Some people are willing to eat the cheapest food they can, you know, in order to stay in a higher end place. Like, there's going to be some balances. Um, some people really want to fly, especially maybe if it's like an overnight flight, a very long flight, you might want to fly business class, so that you can actually sleep. Or some people are not, they're just like, I'm just going to suffer and save that money for, fun excursions or something like that. So, and then think about like what weather are you looking to go to? Do you want to go to Iceland and like experience like the northern lights and like know that you're going to be cold but be okay with that? I've always wanted to go dog sledding. I have to say, I want to go dog sledding at some point. I know it's going to be cold and smelly, but I still want to do it. But I haven't done it yet because I can't get past the cold yet. I got to find some other things, and I don't think the food on a dog sledding trip would be delicious. So far I haven't gone dog sledding. Um, but what else? Yeah. So figure out what it is that will fit in your budget, and then start figuring out what you can do at that location. So if you are a food motivated, warm weather person, of course, and you like big cities, then, Mexico City, Barcelona, um, um, maybe not Athens because it's so crowded, but maybe you like history and you want to go to, you want to see the slave castle, or you want to see, you know, you want to go to Egypt and you want to, learn about the history there. You sort of have to figure out what it is that's motivating you, and then like you pick the excursions and the activities based on that. Um, I guess in terms of budget, if you know you want to go someplace and it's going to be expensive, then just, start figuring out what the budget for that, a realistic budget for that destination might be, and then start saving for it. And as you're saving for it, just, do a little research, find, oh yeah, I want to do that excursion, or I want to eat at that restaurant, and that'll keep you motivated to save as you're saving up and making that budget. You can like start daydreaming about what you're going to do and how it's going to feel once you get there. Um, yeah, and then let's see. So budget. Oh yeah, then you got to find a or places to stay. You might be house sitting, and so that's sort of like a little bit. Yeah, that's another topic. If you're house sitting, then there's a lot of different logistics and like in terms of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Um, but if you are looking for hotels or Airbnbs or staying with friends or something like that, then figuring out like where you're going to stay, how much that's going to cost, and how that fits into your budget. Um, and then the fun part is like, what am I going to do? All the excursions and all of that. And then um, travel insurance. That's kind of a requirement. And as far as I'm concerned, travel insurance is a requirement just because, um, if you sprain your ankle on a trip, who's going to help you? If if your airline cancels a flight and you get stuck somewhere, your travel insurance will help you out and pay for anything that gets canceled. Um, Hey, cat. There's another cat in my life. Yeah, that can be the most expensive part of travel. If you're house sitting, it's not. But if you are looking to stay in some kind of paid accommodation, yeah, it's often the most expensive part. Although I think I haven't been to Asia yet, but I think that if you're going to Asia, it might be cheaper. But it kind of depends on how you travel. Like if you're staying in hostels, it might not be. Who's to say? You know, like it could be the most expensive of your trip, part of your trip, and it usually does take a big chunk. Um, but then again, like if you're staying in a really cheap place so that you can go on the hot air balloon ride of your dreams. I think people will spend, or I think you should spend on the area of the trip that excites you the most. If Egyptian cotton sheets excite you, linen duvet covers excite you, then you might want to spend it on a hotel. If the riding, horseback on the beach um, excites you, maybe you spend it on that more. I don't know. It depends on what your motivation is. Um, so I know Kat is a person who but a lot of there's, like, all of these travelers here. Um, I would love, like, to hear about maybe put in the chat, like, your first solo trip, where you went on your first solo trip, if you can remember, um, and, like, what it was like. Because I think, people who haven't gone solo, um, often they're, like, double dutching, like, they're watching everybody else do it, and they're like, "I'm gonna do this," and then they, like, hesitate and don't. And I think it's helpful for folks to hear about other people's journeys, when they first start out. I think also if you are hesitant to go on a solo trip, maybe just start like I have a video, um on my channel about just going to a restaurant by yourself. Like, a lot of people haven't actually ever done that even in their hometown. Just start with that. Start like go out by yourself. Take yourself out. Take yourself out to dinner. Go to a restaurant and sit at the bar or sit outside and people watch. Um, and practice sort of traveling or being in the world by yourself. Um, yeah, practice that. I think some folks are, especially Black women, I think are worried about safety. They're worried about sticking out. Like, is everyone going to be staring at me? Are they, like when, the time when I was going to Yugoslavia, I thought, oh, I'm American. They're going to hate me. That didn't turn out to be the case. I'm not saying that it won't ever, but, I think um, there was one summer I was in Yugoslavia, there was um, this album was really popular and it was playing everywhere. And one of the tracks was this song called Chocolada. Yeah, the "Ti si moja chocolada, ja sam svoja chocolada." And guess who got to hear Chocolada every time? Like, I was like, "Yes, I'm Chocolada. Yes, you can call me like, and I could have taken offense at that. It could have really pissed me off, but I was like, I kind of like the song. And sure, if you've never seen a Black person before and you want to call this person Chocolada, okay. Like, they're probably calling other people strawberry, like redheads, they would call them strawberry. Like, I decided not to get pissed off because I didn't feel like it and I like the song. That could if I think it's like part of the attitude of yes, I stick out. Like, in some places I do stick out. I do, and that's gonna be okay. Hmm. Catherine Muhammad, I stayed at a hostel in Seoul, South Korea. It was clean, private room and very affordable. Yeah, nice. And maybe that was in part to balance out an expensive plane ticket, perhaps. Or maybe there were other things that you wanted to do in Korea that would make staying in a hostel worth it. Or maybe you wanted to stay in a hostel because you know that other travelers stay there and that's a way to meet folks. Um, so I think if you stay in a hostel, if it's a good hostel, you won't be lonely. Like, you can find another traveler to have dinner with or to just hang out with. So yeah, that sounds like a great option. Let's see. Tangerine Nicks, first solo to Panama after seeing a YouTuber. Okay, so YouTubers really are motivating people. So you saw a YouTuber and you were like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I wonder what it was that this person said about Panama that made it that interesting to you. I would be interested to see. So okay, let me see. What does it say? First solo trip was to the Bahamas when I was 20 in 1975 and not stopped since. I love picking up and going with the ability to change plans on a minute's notice. Yes. Thank you, Denise Washington. Um, yes. When you travel with other people, I'm going to get tall. Look how tall I am now. Yeah, when you travel with other people, there's all this sort of like there can be long conversations about, well, what are we going to do next? I'm like, where are we going to eat lunch? And who wants to do this? And where are we going to meet up? And well, it can actually eat up a lot of your time figuring out the logistics of what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Who's going to be there? What do we, and then the dynamics of the group and all of that can kind of slow you down if you want to kind of, slide through your travel. Sorry, my chair is so noisy. But, yeah, it can be, a lot more, agile. You can be a lot more agile when you're traveling by yourself. Um, Bahamas, yummy, yummy, yummy. I haven't been to the Bahamas. I actually, have family f my family comes from the Bahamas, but I have never been, and it is a destination where I know that I need to get to. I want to get to. Um, yeah, Bahamas. My motivation is family ties, like doing family history research. Haven't gotten there yet because I need to find out what the food is like. I love swimming and I love the hot weather, but I got to find out what the food in Bahamas is, and maybe that'll tip it over the edge. Um, yeah. So I guess I'm wondering like when you decide you're going to a place, how do you pick it out of all the hundreds of countries in the world? Like how do you even choose? Um I guess, like, choose if you have, like, my family history or you've seen somebody on YouTube talk about it. I would never think that hearing somebody talking about it on YouTube, but duh, of course it is. Like, yeah, a lot of people are talking about Portugal and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Portugal is the place," but it's not the place for everyone. No place is for everyone. I'm super adamant about that. Not everybody is gonna love the place that um, you know, everybody else loves. Um, you know? So, let's see, what else do we need to talk about? The sort of downsides of solo travel, yeah, you can get lonely, I guess. Or I don't know if I don't think I get lonely because I'm an introvert, so I like spending time alone. But I think extroverts or ambiverts might feel like, now what do I do? Like I'm sitting here by myself, I'm doing everything by myself. Like maybe if you're an extrovert, you might need to make sure that you connect with other folks before you go so that you know that there will be a meetup that you can go to or an excursion that you can go to. Um, there are folks like when I last time I went to Mexico City, I was by myself, but I was like met up with Abe and Rashida who live there. And I did different excursions, like just walking around, just really walking around, nothing organized on that trip. But other times I will like do like an Airbnb experience where um, like I know in Porto, I did like a wine tour around the city. We walked around the city and then we went across the bridge to where the wine caves are. And we did like a little wine tasting and things like that. Like there's always excursions that you can do where other travelers are on, where you can meet folks. And if you're up to it, you can, arrange to meet with them for coffee or go for a walk with them another time. Um, and yeah, I think, if you are worried about being lonely or alone, then it's good to sort of make those plans. And even if you sort of overschedule yourself with excursions and then just decide, not to actually sign up for them, not to do them, you'll know that on a day that you're feeling a little bit out of pocket or out of sorts or whatever, you can just choose an excursion and go and hang out with folks. If you're there in the summer, there's going to be probably, depending on where you're going, there might be free concerts outdoors. There might be places where locals just hang out, city parks, bars, coffee shops, um, all kinds of places where people just hang out. And if that's your jam, then find them and hang out and like be open and don't be on your phone the whole time. Look around, watch people, smile, like see if you can like strike up a conversation. If you're an extrovert, you probably won't have a problem doing that. Places where you don't speak the language can be a challenge. Um, but if you're willing to learn a little bit of the language before you go, you don't have to get like you don't have to get the book, teach yourself Serbo-Croat, which doesn't exist anymore as a language, which is so bizarre to me. Like learning a whole language and then like it doesn't exist. But yeah, try and learn some of the language if you're going to be somewhere where it's not English. English is not spoken as the primary language. Try and learn some of it. Any other comments? Let's see. Confusing station in New York City, Panama. Um, and have you ever had a trip that just went completely wrong? Like that was totally uh awful. It was a mess, like, things just did not go wrong. I think I guess one time I took my kid with me to Mexico. We were just on the, Yucatan, on the Mayan Riviera, and, yeah, I think this was our first maybe our second trip together, and I said we're not going to be able to eat the same way that we eat at home. Like we're going to have, the food's going to be different. The menu, we're going to have to figure out, something on the menu that we're going to be able to like. At the time, I was vegan, so yeah. So I said to her, "You're going to have to be a little bit flexible." And as I said it, I realized I was going to have to be a little bit flexible in order to sort of model that behavior for her. And so at some point, I had some fish tacos. And yeah, if you've been vegan for 3 years and then you suddenly have fish tacos in Mexico, things don't always go well for you. Things went south. Things did not go well. I've only gotten sick in Mexico twice, I think. That one was pretty bad. Um, Fortunately, we weren't far. Like as I was getting sick, we weren't far from where we were staying, so I just like hung out. But I think, yeah, like that kind of stuff will happen. You will get sick. You might twist your ankle on the cobblestones in Lisbon or, you know, things happen. Which also reminds me, travel insurance, very important because you just don't know. Um, and so if I had gotten really sick, I would have, called my travel insurance and said like, what do I do? Like throw your hands up, like help. You know, I think it's always good to have that um, kind of disaster backup whereby if something goes horribly wrong, then you actually have a number to call, that someone you've paid to take care of you. And if it's a reputable company, they should be able to like help you figure out how to get out of whatever jam you're in. Um, and that can be sort of a way to help you feel more comfortable. Like, I don't have to figure out where the nearest hospital is. I don't have to figure out, how do I pay for this hotel room if my passport my credit cards got stolen. Like if something like that happens, it's good to have travel insurance. Um, there was the time when I left my wallet and my passport in the airport. Um, on my way out. There was the time that my sister left her wallet at home and discovered it when we landed in Lisbon. Um, this stuff happens. It happens, and when we figure that out, you kind of have to sit and like take a deep breath and be like, okay, what's plan B? What's plan C? What's plan D? Like, what do I do? What do I do? And I think knowing that, like, having been through those experiences, which I wish I had like hadn't happened, um, knowing that I figured it out, like knowing that in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my, that the time that I left my wallet in the airport and landed Montreal with no passport, no wallet, and, like, I got a ride home from, like the airport was, like, the last plane landing. It was, like the airport was shutting down, basically, and I had no money, no wallet, no passport, and they were the at the passport control. This was pre 9/11. They were like they're just like, "Good luck." They let me into Canada. They're like, "Good luck. We're going home." And I was like, "What?" And so, like, somehow I found someone who worked in the airport who gave me a ride to my, B&B, which was not an Airbnb. It was an actual B&B with a person, opening the door and saying hello and welcoming me. So, there was that benefit. So, like, that sort of disaster, like, I figured it out. Like, I just was like, "Can somebody in this airport give me a ride into town? Like, you don't even have to give me, like, to the door of my hostel." I'm in a hostel, my Airbnb or my B&B. Just get me into town, and I will walk to my to my accommodation. But this really sweet person gave me a ride directly to the door of my B&B. Like, so sweet, so nice. The kindness of strangers, like, really. And then I remembered there was somebody who I knew from DC who was originally from Montreal, and we were friendly, whatever. I called I called him. Shout out to Ivan. You were a lifesaver. I was like, "I have no cash and I'm in Montreal. Could you lend me 1 or 200 Canadian dollars for a week until I can get my friend in DC to Western Union me some cash?" He was like, "Yeah, of course." So that's what I lived on. I lived on the B&B breakfast and then the 1 or $200 that my friend lent me, until I got the Western Union. But, like, you know, shit like that happens. Like, you gotta kinda roll with the punches, and once you're able, I think, to roll with the punches like that, sort of kind of quasi worst case scenario where you have no passport, no wallet, no credit card, no cash, but you have a place to stay, fortunately. Um, if I had had no place to stay, what would I have done? Like, your mind like, your mind can kind of work through these things, and, like, once you know, like, "Oh, I I did that thing." Like, I kinda had, like, a quasi worst case scenario there, and I kinda worked it out. I figured it out. Like, my mind went into problem solving mode. Like, as I was, like, trying not to panic, as I was breathing and coming up with solutions, like, my brain was also coming up with solutions kind of running in the background, and it was like, "Oh, yeah, Ivan lives in Montreal." I was like, "Oh, yeah, how do I find out what his number is? How do I don't remember how. I guess I looked him up in what would have been an actual phone book. The good old days. So, yeah. So yeah, I think once you kind of come to sorry, my throat is getting dry. Um, yeah, so once you see yourself in action, solving challenges that come up as you travel by yourself, and you understand that, oh, I figured that out. That was a tough situation. I figured it out. I came up with a solution. It was a little bit like asking for help when you really need it is really hard. It can be really hard. It's easy to ask for help when you don't actually need it, but when you really need help, it can be like, oh my gosh, if this person like only knew how much I actually need this. Like, it's like embarrassing, and like I screwed up royally. Like, to admit that and to say, you know what? I could really use your help. That takes a little, it's very humbling. It's very humbling. But once you do it and you've rolled with the punches, you've figured something out, you've gotten yourself out of a jam, um, it becomes somewhat easier to know the next time, if I get into a jam, I'm going to get myself out of it. I'm going to get myself out of whatever it is that happens. Um, yeah, yeah. So let me see what else. Oh yeah. Okay. So safety. Um, yeah, a lot. Obviously, Americans and women in particular are often very concerned about safety, and with good reason. So I think I think we know that the United States is not the safest place to be, um, and that other places are can be safer. Um, or if there is a safety issue, it might be a different safety issue than than we might be used to here. For example, if you're in Australia, maybe you don't want to be bitten by one of those snakes, spiders, and animals. Like maybe that's the safety that you want to think about. Like wear shoes when you're walking outside. Check your shoes for spiders before you put them on. Like that might be the safety issue that you are concerned with in your destination. There are yeah, there are other issues um, related to safety besides, being, the kind of safety issues that we have in the States are kind of at a crisis level that we won't we aren't likely to experience that kind of safety issue in the places that we are wanting to go to. Um, if you're going to a war zone, then yes, certainly there is that concern. Um, but yeah, let's see what Kat is saying. Kat. Um, oh yeah, Kat says my solo travel was driven by my desire to perform around the world, so it was a bit different from holiday travel. However, travel flexibility is key. Being open and curious, cautious, not guarded. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Cautious, not guarded. Yeah. You have to sort of, you know, don't do the thing of getting, drunk at night by yourself. you know, just don't do that. Don't, keep your valuable flashy jewelry at home. um, you know, those basics sort of safety travel tips. But yeah, just know that just maybe go with the assumption that people are good, go with the assumption that people want to help, go with the assumption, um, and then keep your wits about you. Keep your wits about you as you would at home, but um, ideally after a time you might find that you can drop your guard more and more depending on where you are. You get a better sense of how things are on the ground. um, like when I've lived in places where I kept my key in my car. Like there are places I've lived where there was no reason to keep my key anywhere but in my car because no one was going to take it. Like, there are places in the world that's the case. So, um, and Kat is a performer, so yes, very different. You were going to places where there was music and there were there was an audience for the music that you were performing. Um, so yeah, yeah, and also Kat, I know you are also a foodie, so yeah. Act like you belong where yes, yes, yes. Yes, don't death grip your purse, but also don't sling it off the back of your chair and, like, forget that it's there. Like, whenever I see somebody with their purse kinda, like, dangling, and I've seen it, like, it's happened, like, people that's, like, your purse is it's gone. Like, don't make it easy, but also don't, like, act like you've got the crown jewels in your bag. Also maybe don't have like a big wad of cash, that kind of stuff. um yeah. Death gripping your purse. Yeah, I mean, there was that one time when I lived in London and my parents came to visit me, and my stepmom did have her bag off the side, and that there it went. It was gone. Yeah, it was unfortunate. They just had to get a new passport, new everything. Um, so yeah, just keep your stuff kind of close to you, but like yeah, and it's sort of also know what kinds of things are tend to happen. Like for example, I think in Costa Rica, petty crime is more common. Don't leave anything in your car anywhere really, but except where I lived when I could leave my keys in the car. But, like if you're not in a place where people leave their keys in their car, then like don't leave stuff in the car. Like don't leave your luggage, just like stuff lying around. Um, um, let's see, safety, Costa Rica. There was something else I was gonna say. Yeah, Costa Rica, leaving, and then there. Oh, I know. Like in the tram in Lisbon is notorious for pickpockets. Like make sure you don't have like a bag. Like I was one time, the first time I went to Lisbon, like decades ago. Like there was a I was I met this young woman traveling and she had a backpack and somebody has zipped in the tram in Lisbon, unzipped her backpack and stole the band-aids out of the back. Like they stole the band-aids. Like why? Why? Like why? They're just like going to take whatever they can get their hands on, So just know sort of get an idea of like what type of stuff happens in the destination where you're going, you know. Um I've heard in like somebody's in a chat was like Medellin, they will take your cell phone. So like keep it close to you and don't like be talking like this. Yeah, so it does help to sort of look on the like join a couple groups for the location that you're going, like Facebook groups, and see how folks are talking. Like just watch your have your wits about you depending on where you're going. Yeah. So, anything else? Safety? Will I be welcome? How will you be treated by the locals? Um, yes. Always a bit of learning a bit of the language can be helpful. Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of pickpockets work in groups. Yeah, they do. They do. They're like distract you over here. Oh, that thing in New York where they used to do like the shell game, like they would have, one person would be doing the shell game and you'd be really focused on that and then like somebody would be picking your pocket. I think that's what that game was, something like that. Um Let's see. Stephanie DK, I'm surprised that age has made me less fearful. I've already lived a full life and have nothing to lose except my phone and my money. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's good. And also just your experience is just kind of, that you can take care of yourself. You've been taking care of yourself for decades. You've come up against various challenges. You have met the challenges. You're still here. You can handle it. It's a bit of like self-trust. Do I trust myself? Do I know that I can figure stuff out? Can I figure this out? Can I humble myself and ask for help? Can I, you know, toughen up when I need to toughen up and like go to that place that looks scary that turns out to be not so scary, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I think as you get older, you hopefully are trust yourself more. You trust yourself, um, but I think you don't get that experience unless you give yourself permission to have that experience. It is a bit of a hurdle. It is a bit of a like just feel the fear and do it anyway. Do your research, do your Googles, like get get connected as much as you can and then jump in there, do the double dutch thing, jump in, get in there, like, and I've never known how to double dutch. I wish I could. I wish I could. I'm like, nah, I can't do it. I can't double dutch. I wish I could. Never learned it, but I have traveled. I have traveled, and I can't say that I've gotten myself out of jams, but I have. I mean, I have, but I figured stuff out. You figure out how to use a dishwasher or a washing machine in a different language. You figure out how to use the subway system. You figure out how the buses work. How does this bus pass? Can I use this bus pass on this pass, but this bus, but not that bus? And where do how do I get from here to there? All of that um, sort of problem solving, the little problem solving, the bigger problem solving, I think it gives you confidence. It gives you confidence that you can do, you can figure stuff out. You can get yourself there. You can figure out once you get there. You can humble yourself and ask for help. You can humble yourself and introduce yourself to someone who looks interesting and friendly. You can sit in a and wave and say hi. You know, it's really, I think, yeah, it's a matter of just kind of giving yourself permission to go ahead and do it scared with the proper research, proper backup. Um, have that person back home who knows where you're going to be. That person that you can send up a bat signal. Can you wire me some money? Can you call my credit card company and tell them that's really whatever you need to do, like maybe have a backup person at home who knows where you're going to be, and who can help you out if you ever needed, like if the worst case ever happened, and hopefully it won't, and you'll be fine, and you'll come back with photos and stories and a list of more places that you want to go to or places that you want to go back to. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say, was just I want to help you to give yourself permission to go on these trips that you know that you want to do. Um yeah, so that's what I had to say. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I will shut it down because it's early in the morning, and um we've got places to be and things to do. So yeah, and I will actually, I'm going to be opening up my calendar for one-on-one sessions with folks. If you are nervous about traveling and you would like to talk it through with somebody and maybe work out some of the logistics with someone, I'm going to open my calendar for one-on-one sessions. So I haven't put a link in the description yet, but I will do that. So if you're watching in the future, check out the description, and yes, meet with me. Communicate beyond, oh, here's something else. Okay, communicate beyond language. Yes, use your hands, objects, speak. Absolutely. If you don't know the language, yes, there's so many ways. Um, I mean, there are people who have entire relationships with people who don't speak each other's language. Like, this is this is a thing. Love, the universal language. But yes, I mean, if you're in a market and you want this and you want that and you don't know what that fruit is it, like, how do I cook it? How do I eat it? What is it? Is it sweet? Is it salty? I don't know. Like, just that it's humbling. It's like, it's frustrating to not know the language. It can be just, but it's also so much fun to just try and communicate, just try it. Um, yes, happy travels to everyone. Yes. So happy travels to everyone. And you can always post your questions after the fact. Post it in the comments later. And yes. Oh, I also wanted to let you all know that Kathy Hampton of Wellside Retreats and I are planning a retreat for Black women in Mexico City in October. We haven't opened up the registration yet, but it will be opening up this summer. So get ready for that. I'll put a link also to that wait list in the description. And if you're in the future, the registration link will be there. So yes, you all are wonderful, beautiful. Thank you for joining me. And yes, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye.